It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey everybody, what's happening? I'm back. It is showtime. Geno Jones Showtime. Hope you had a great day. It's Tuesday, April 21st. 7:30 p.m. Eastern on the East Coast here, 6:30 Central Time. Stand up Chicago, everybody, Central Time from Minneapolis to Milwaukee, Memphis, Tennessee, St. Louis, stand up, Little Rock, Arkansas, Jackson, Mississippi. Shout out to everybody down there in New Orleans, Central Time. You got Dallas, Houston, Texas. Shout out to Tracy. All right, Tracy, I know you tuned in tonight. Shout out to everybody down there in Houston, Texas, live in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and everybody on the West Coast. 4:30 in the afternoon. Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe to the Geno Jones Show YouTube channel. By the way, the show is interactive. Everybody that's watching the show live right now, I'd love for you to be part of the show. Let me know what you got to say. Let me know what you think. All right, want to get your feedback, so you can hit me up in the chat room. You see where it says, as a matter of fact, top chat. You see there? It says live chat. You'll see it showing up somewhere. There you go. I just need to do that. Leave your questions. You got a comment. Jump in that chat room. You want me to shout you out, whatever you got going on, birthday, anniversary, whatever it is. So here we are. Shout out to everybody watching me live now. I got my guest coming up. Brother, he's a long time. He's family, not a friend of the show. He's family. He and his wife are doing incredible work. They've been doing working, being not just advocates against domestic violence, violence in all of its forms against women. They provide safe spaces, shelter, whatever women in crisis, women and families, women and children in crisis, whatever they need, they provide support. They also provide support for men, for young boys and men. Every year I'm honored to be a part of his conference, Boys to Men's Conference. You've seen Mr. Bush Kennedy, Real Men Against Domestic Violence, and just an incredible brother. So we're going to continue the conversation I had last night. It's a conversation that we need to have on a regular basis. Now, what put it front and center is what happened. Many people have heard of what happened, a tragic story in Virginia. Former politician, a former lieutenant governor of Virginia, Justin Fairfax, he murdered his wife, killed himself with their children in the house. There was another gentleman, 31. Well, let me rephrase that. Another person. I can't call this person a gentleman. I can't, because gentlemen don't kill 8 babies and shoot and almost try to kill his wife and his girlfriend. And I know it's a lot of layers. It's a lot of layers to it. It is a lot of layers. We're going to cover all that. Butch Kennedy's coming on camera in a minute. He's really a good person to talk to, because this is his life's work, working to protect and to save black women and their children, and to save black men from themselves sometimes, because we all need somebody to save us from ourselves. At some point in our life, we'll need to have somebody like that. Hopefully not because of something this extreme. But let me start off the show. I got to pay tribute to my man. Rest in power to Prince Rogers Nelson. Prince Rogers Nelson. That's Prince's government name, as you all say, government, his government name. Prince Rogers Nelson died 10 years ago today from an accidental overdose of fentanyl. He was only 57. So many songs. I can't even tell you my favorite songs. So many from Erotic City and let's see, Sign of the Times, Controversy, Head, Baby I'm a Star. I could go. I can't adore. Scandalous. Man, the brother has some of the baddest ballads, and some of the best party songs. I don't think there's any party song that's better than Erotic City. That bass line, boom, 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 do 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 do. I can go on. So Prince, your memories, your music, your legacy will live for eternity. I had the honor to actually MC a concert. Prince headlined down at one of the casinos down in just outside of Memphis, Tennessee. Shout out to his legendary manager for many years. As a matter of fact, the guy that played the manager in the movie Purple Rain, my man Billy. My man Billy. Shout out to Billy. I hope I'm sure Billy's still alive. I haven't seen my man. Or is Billy, I don't know. Did he pass? But anyway, rest in power to our Prince. He joined the ancestors 10 years ago today. So just want to, his birthday is June 7th, by the way. I know all my Prince fans, you understand and you know that. That's your man, June 7th, 1958. Prince Rogers Nelson. So today is the day he joined the ancestors. All right, I want to go back. To what we were talking about, my monologue yesterday. So, 62 years ago, nearly 62, as a matter of fact, in May of 1962, Malcolm X gave a speech, and one of the most iconic parts of that speech is when Malcolm X was talking about black women and how we as black men, it is our job to make sure that we protect black women. Now, I'm sure there's a conversation that we should change and create a culture to where we don't have to protect black women. And that's a fair conversation. But it can be done, but that's a lot of work. But in the while we are creating the culture in the community to where black women don't need to be protected because there's a sense of never harming, really, not just a black woman or black children, black people, including each other as black men. But 62 years ago, Malcolm X gave a speech to where one of the iconic parts of his speech, he said the most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. That was Malcolm X. 62 years ago, May of 1964. And unfortunately, 6 decades later, that statement, unfortunately, is still true. And there's so many layers to this. Now we've got this, they call red pill manosphere, to where you have a group of men that's on this ultra hyper nonsense of this misogyny, madness, patriarchy, and sexism on steroids that's at its core is control, domination, oppression, and violence, which is, there's so many labels to that, but I don't want to focus on that. And there's so many vulnerable minds. There are a lot of young minds, but some not so young minds that are very easily influenced. And you've got social media makes it worse because you've got these hustlers, these con artists, these pimps that they found a way to monetize this ignorance of misogyny and sexism and patriarchy and hatred and violence, and make it look all good because they influence these young, impressionable and not so young, impressionable minds. and they're able to make a lot of money on social media through followers and clicks, and they share. They're on each other's platforms, so they grow their platforms. So they're making a ton of money, and then they get sponsors to buy into this bullshit. So it's a business. It's a business, but there's an ideology. There's an insecurity. Now, did you know that 55% of black women that are murdered by a partner, a romantic partner? 55%. Now, just to put full disclosure, 30% of black men who are murdered are murdered by a partner. You don't have to take my word for it. You can do your Copilot, Chat GPT, whatever AI search you want to use, whatever platforms, Gemini, whatever you use. Look, I'm not co-signing for none of them, or just Google or whatever your search engine is. If black women don't feel safe around black men, what does that say about me and you and us? It's black men. Go back to what Malcolm X said 6 decades ago. The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. And with all the trauma, all the epigenetic trauma, which is trauma passed down through our DNA, passed down to black women, to men, children, the trauma that black people are experiencing here in America today under this regime that is on a crusade to basically to defund the entire black economy. You've had hundreds of thousands of black women and black men that have lost their jobs, especially in the federal government and related jobs, government contracting jobs. Now you've got this, people talk about reverse racism. White men are still saying they're being discriminated against because what? Which is bullshit, because there's no industry in America. There's no industry in America that is not wholly owned, controlled, managed, and operating at the top, filled primarily with white straight men. Full stop. Any industry, politics, law, the healthcare industry, medicine, Wall Street, sports entertainment, all the owners of all the entertainment industry, you name it, media companies, you name the industry. The people at the very top of those industries, the CEOs, all those industries. If you want to play the Wall Street game, look at your Fortune 500 companies, the S&P, the Dow, all those companies, NASDAQ, all those companies are owned and run by straight white men. Virtually 90+%. So this thing to where, young white men are being discriminated against. Now, there is somewhat of a crisis for young men in general in terms of getting jobs because of this climate that we're in now. Our young people are graduating from college and having a hard time finding a job. And with the technology, of course, now with AI, so there's some challenges there. But listen, I want to bring it back home to our culture and our community. I want to bring it back to what Malcolm X said and identified 6 decades ago, because that ties into what happened with Dr. Serena Fairfax, who was murdered by her husband. They were in the process of getting a divorce. He murdered his wife, Dr. Serena Fairfax, in their home with two of their children in the house. Then this 31-year-old person who eventually died, I guess, got into a shootout. Police, I guess, found this guy, and then it's not certain they haven't officially given a cause of death, whether or not he shot and killed himself or some law enforcement in the state of Louisiana killed him. But before that, he killed 8 children, 7 children of his own. And he attempted to kill his wife. He shot her. She's still in critical condition, last I heard. Then he went down the street and shot his girlfriend. I guess, so his girlfriend had some kids by him. He killed those kids. And before that, he killed the kids he had with his wife, and tried to kill his wife, shot her, and then tried to kill his girlfriend, shot her. But 8 children died, 7 were his. So there's been a lot of talk. So I'm bringing on, I told you at the beginning of the show, Butch Kennedy. He has done the work in terms of helping young boys, teenagers, men of all ages, heal, created a safe space, mentoring, a place to where, men can, because I get it. Society has really done us dirty, especially as black men, that you can't be human. You can't, real men don't cry, and, you just, rub some dirt on it, that you're not supposed to be human. That being human and having a degree of emotional intelligence, being human means that you have human feelings, and that you have a range of emotions. And they're not just anger and rage and sex-driven. Humans are very complex, and there's a range of emotions, which is where emotional intelligence, you are allowed to be, anxiety, fear, concern, being down, some folks depressed, concern, having self-doubt, insecurity. All these are human emotions that men need. We have to create a culture where men are taught that it's okay to be human. And there's some things that can cause you emotional pain, that can cause you, if something brings you to tears, that's your body's sign of releasing emotional pain. And by the way, there's science behind this. Do you know that when we cry, when you shed tears, your tears contain stress hormones? But when you don't let those stress hormones out, those stress hormones turn into cortisol. And cortisol is like a stress hormone. They call it the fight or flight. But your cortisol is not meant to be really constantly flowing through your body. Basically, stress hormones, cortisol is meant to be released in limited doses and small dosage, like if you're in a situation where your life is threatened. That's what they call the fight or flight syndrome. But if you live in a constant state of fight or flight, that means your body is in that constant state of anxiety and anger and fear. Physically, that is not good. It affects your blood pressure. It affects your heart and your arteries and so many things. I'm not a doctor, but this is, you can look this stuff up. It's easy to find. So I want to talk about all this, but the root cause is that, once again, and I said it last night, violence against women, it is a woman's problem. And there's absolutely no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse. Violence, domestic sexual violence, is absolutely unacceptable, full stop. No matter what level of depression or desperation, going through a divorce, job loss, your business loss, a family member, you lose a family member, unresolved trauma, epigenetic trauma. There's no excuse that a black person should ever have to fear for their life or to lose their life at the hands of another black person. And a black woman and a black child should never, never, under no circumstances, and I stand on that 10 toes down, and if you want to come on the show and you want to have a conversation, you can do that. If you think you can justify a woman being murdered in her house with her 2 children there, and at 2 women in 2 separate households can see their babies shot and killed in front of them, and for those 2 women to be shot, to barely escape with their life. If you want to be the one to try to come on and to give some excuses and justify that, good luck with that. But we're going to talk about. I'm bringing Butch on now. Because what we want to talk about is what we can do, what we need to do collectively. Because Butch, like I said, Butch has been doing a lot of this work, and we do it. Sometimes it just means you got to get in somebody's business, somebody that you care about. I ask people, not how you doing. That's it. No, how are you really doing? And if you need to talk, there's no judgment here. I'd rather you get it off your chest, sit down, get mad, yell, scream, or you need to cuss everybody out. Go to the gym, work out, hit a punching bag. Yesterday was 420. I don't smoke or drink, but look, I'll get you some weed, some edibles, get you whatever your favorite drink is. Watch the game, find a movie, whatever it is. I'd rather you get it out that way than take out whatever trauma you're dealing with on the people who you are supposed to love the most, and the people who you are supposed to love and protect the most. All right, Butch Kennedy, thank you. Welcome to the show, brother. I'm just gonna let you kind of just pick it up from there, and I want to get your perspective because you have been doing this work for 2 decades, and you've been doing it when cameras not around and any of that, and you do it on a regular basis. And maybe we can just talk about scaling some of the things that you've done and that I've done working with you, and how we can do it, because you don't have to have a whole lot of money to just have a listening ear and a sense of empathy and compassion, and sometimes just letting somebody vent. And sometimes you gotta holding somebody accountable is not hating on them, because real love means that I love you enough to hold you accountable, because I want to protect you from yourself, and I want to protect the people around you from you if it comes to that, because I don't want it to get to that, because it's not going to end well for anybody. It didn't end well for Justin Fairfax. It didn't end well for this person that shot and killed those 8 kids and almost killed his wife and his girlfriend. He's dead. So it didn't end well for anybody. So I'll let you start wherever you want to start at and address the situation.
Well, thank you for having me, Geno, man. You started it off by hitting the nail on the head, man. You talked about Prince, man. It's been 10 years since Prince has left us, man. And every time I think about that, man, I think about when he first came out with Soft and Wet. See, I was a DJ back in the day, so Soft and Wet was my joint, man. And
yeah, man.
All of the songs he's had since then, man. As soon as you brought up Prince, man, it just took me way back, man, to When Doves Cry and Purple Rain and the old music, man, the old stuff, man. Sleep in peace, my brother. Sleep in peace, Prince. But this topic that we're talking about here today, man, like you said, it's been over 20 years I've been having this conversation. A lot of people don't understand, but every day, over 130 women are murdered every day, every single day. 51,000 women are murdered every year. in the United States by their significant others, by their boyfriends, by the person who's supposed to love them the most, right? So when we hear stories about, like we hear the story about the Louisiana story, and we hear the story about Representative Fairfax and all this has been going on in our community for far too long. And as men, you and I have had these conversations for many years, right? And you and I have a safe space where we can have conversations with each other and we can talk about certain things. And there's never been judgment, right? Because we've said things to each other that brothers need to say to each other, right? Sometimes you just need to have those serious conversations. Yeah. And we as Black men, right, need to have those safe spaces where we can talk to each other and one another without judgment, right? And that way, that's going to lead to a lot less violence within our community. Accountability is everything, man. We have to hold each other accountable, man, and have these tough conversations, man. Ryan Clark, my guy, man, he does it really well on Pivot, man, where he's talking to young men about what their issues are and basically allowing brothers the free space to actually say what's really on their mind. That's really difficult, right, man? Because we live in a society, right, that doesn't allow us as men, especially as Black men, right, to be vulnerable, right? So that makes it very difficult because a lot of men just don't trust that space unless you allow them that freedom to trust that space. So that's what we've been working on for a while, and it's very difficult, right? When we have times like this here, these are educational times, right? When we can talk about, hey, this is what happened. We'd love to find out what led up to it, but the end result is, like you said, man, like Malcolm said some six decades ago, right? The most, and I hate to say this, but the most dangerous person in a woman's life is the person she's in a relationship with. So that's that sad, part, right? That's a sad reality, but that's the real reality.
Butch, let me pause you there because I want you to say that again. And that's not Butch's opinion. That's fact. There's data behind that. Right. So please say that again.
The most dangerous person in a woman's life is the man she's in a relationship with. And until we can fix that as men, right? Because we as men are supposed to be protectors, right? That's in our DNA to protect, right? So how do we determine that our queens, our Black women aren't worth protecting, right? How could we even fathom doing something like that there, man? I'm a mama's boy, man, and I could never fathom anybody laying hands on your mama. You know what I'm saying? Never imagine anybody laying hands on mama. And these gentlemen are doing just that, right? And we have to come up with some sort of way that they can release trauma, right? And feel comfortable in that release of that trauma, because all of us, live with trauma every day. And a lot of us men, don't know how to release it, or they don't think it's in our culture to release it the way that everybody else releases it, the way women release it as well. But I mean, it's one of those onions. When you start peeling the layers back, right, and you get deep into it, it's all about a culture thing for us and how we survived as men, and how we want to be real men and not less than, and certain emotions, that if you express certain emotions, it makes you feel like you're less than.
And let's pause there, because I want to pause on, because when you talked about how we got to, men, and I want to, because I've done it for 2 days and I'm going to continue to do it, because when you have a situation like this, you always center the victims. You center the victims. So we will continue to center the victims, but this is, the great thing on this show is that we have time to have a very comprehensive conversation that can cover a lot of grounds. But because we want to, the goal is to alleviate this problem to where women don't even feel that, that innate nature we have to protect women. I'm sure that women would just love to be in a world where they don't even have to worry about being protected, because the men in their lives would never consider harming them. It would be a default position. It would be so foreign to any man to even think of harming, putting his hands, or worse, killing a woman and or his children, or each other as men, which is a whole nother conversation. But I want to go back, because you talk about safe space, but let's break this safe space down, Butch, because a lot of this is because we talk about how we got to create the culture and really kind of root out a lot of this bullshit that we have learned from other people's culture, from Europeans' cultures that it's not really a part of our culture if we really kind of trace our African heritage, but that's a whole nother conversation. Because there's a level of emotional intelligence that I think that needs to be taught at a young age. Now, I know what that looks like for a lot of different reasons, but I also know what it looks like because I've seen you do it, and we've done it with your Boys to Men conference. So I want you to let's kind of maybe act out role play what those conversations, because when we talk about a safe space and we're talking about emotional intelligence, what do some of those conversations look and sound like when you have a conversation maybe with a preteen or a teenager or maybe a grown dude is having issues, he's not having a lot of luck with the ladies, and maybe he's struggling, he don't really have a job or a good paying job, and the kind of women that he's attracted to, which is a whole nother conversation, are not attracted to him. So there's this sense of anger and resentment and bitterness, and then with social media added on top of it, that's trying to pit black men against black women. So you counteract all that. So I want you to, almost like I say, a role play. Let's show everybody what that safe, what it looks like, and what it sounds like, and what the real conversations actually should look like and sound like.
It's really interesting that you say that, because every Monday we have our Boys to Men Zoom. So my mentors are talking to these boys, right, every Monday, and the conversation sort of goes like this here, man. Hey, these are 11, 12-year-old boys now. Hey, I got a girlfriend. Think she likes me. What do you think? And then one of the guys say, well, what makes you think she likes you? I mean, why do you think she likes you? Why do you think she likes you? Well, because when I talk to her, she smiles. These are young boys, and this is our conversation that we're having around young boys. Okay, so what do you say to her that makes her smile? Well, I kind of tell her jokes, and I want her to really like me, right? So these are young boys, and this is how they're interacting with my boys who are mentoring them, and they want that validation is what they want, right? So then all of a sudden, weeks later, we have the same conversation. Well, so how's the girl going? How's things going with the girl? Oh, she likes somebody else now. She doesn't like me. She doesn't like me today. So what happened? What'd you do? Well, I didn't do anything. Well, I mean, what'd you do? Well, I like another girl now, and this other girl was this and this and that. You know what I'm saying? So these kids, right, and just like the kids that we're seeing that on the videos that you're talking about with the red pill, right? They see, right, different things within the community, right? Like on the red pill, these guys have nice cars, they have money, they're flashy, right? And these little girls, right, they see these kids with the nice stuff, right? He has nicer shoes than I have. I mean, he dresses better than I do because his family can afford it, man. She doesn't like me because I don't dress well. And there's so many different layers that these kids deal with on a daily basis that they just need confirmation, right? That is okay, right? You just be the best man that you can be, and they're gonna turn around. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, man, that I was a bookworm, so I was a geeky kid, right? So I was actually an engineer, so I was a geeky kid. So all the girls, the only saving grace for me with the girls is that I was also on the band. So it was totally different. It was a totally different lifestyle for me. I was on the band, so I got to be on stage, and so I can be geeky there. But when I'm on stage, it's totally different. But these kids here that are coming up now, man, they're searching for love at a young age, man. I've had one kid that is like 12 years old, and he's in love with his teacher. He's trying to date his 24-year-old teacher, and I think it's hilarious because he said, I'm gonna rap on her. I'm gonna rap, and he doesn't know what that means, right? I'm gonna rap on her because I like her. She's really pretty and all that stuff. But these kids, man, just like you said, they're sensitive, right? So when they get rejected, right, and they do, right, then the conversation is different that we have with them, right? So I mean, how do you really feel about this? And our kids now, they know that when they tune in on Monday, that's their safe space. They can say whatever they want to say. Their parents aren't usually around, right? So they can tell us the whole deal, and we hear a lot from our kids, man. And it's really important to have those conversations with kids, and that's why we have the Boys to Men conference, because we want the parents to know that these kids have an outlet. These kids have the opportunity, right, to meet other young men that are going through the same thing that they're going through, that can relate to exactly what they're going through in life, and that can make their lives better.
And I
So
want to
that's some
jump
of
on
what
something. I just want to jump on. Don't lose your thought, but I want to jump on two words you just said: validation and rejection. Now, applies to anybody, but if you want to go ahead, clip this video. If you got a nephew or you got a son, you're pre-teenager, teenager, even 7, 8, 9, or even adults. We as humans, we all seek validation, but the most important validation that you or myself will receive, Butch, is the self-validation. It is the self-love. We have to learn to love ourselves. We have to learn to respect ourselves, because if you can't love yourself, you can't expect anyone to love you if you don't love yourself.
That's the hardest one to get, though, right? We expect validation from our parents first, right? We expect our parents to show us that validation. If we miss that boat, right, as parents, if we miss that boat as parents, the kids are out searching for it someplace else, right? So and if they're not validating us, then we don't feel like we're worthy, right? Somebody has to say you're worthy, right? And
Yes.
sometimes it's hard for us to say that we're that person that's going to say it for ourselves. That comes with time. I know that comes with time, and a lot of young kids just, at 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, they ain't there yet. If the parents aren't validating them, if they're not telling them that they're worthy, somebody else from the outside needs to tell them that they're worthy. That's why gangs are so prevalent.
True, which is why I'm using this platform now to speak to anybody that's watching. But if you've got a son or, because this applies to daughters also, this is a whole nother conversation. But we're talking about young men. This validation, okay, and I'm gonna give you a real simple way to focus on loving yourself. Shout out to Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, who's an ancestor, who was born and raised right here in the state of South Carolina, about 3 hours from where we are right now, Butch. As a kid, I would sit at the kitchen table back in the 70s as a little kid, and the Operation Push radio broadcast, live radio broadcast, would come on the radio every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Chicago time, Central Time. Right. And the one thing that I can remember the most, and everybody can remember, was when Reverend Jackson would say, "I am somebody.
Yeah.
I am somebody. I might be poor. I might be small, but I am somebody." And I cannot tell you how empowering hearing Reverend Jackson say that. It was like, it gave me superpower. Because the call and response, I would be sitting around, I am somebody. And I share that story because for all the young men who've never had anybody to tell them that they love them, or that they believe in them, or that they see potential, or they see greatness in there, see it in yourself and understand that even if no one has told you, you are somebody. And those are conversations we need to have, and we need to talk about rejection. And I want to share a quick story, then I want you to pick up where you were going to say. I remember, I'm dating myself now, but I'm sure, back in high school, they had the parties, and then, because now kids don't slow dance. They like, what the hell is slow dance? But back in the day, the highlight of the party, it wasn't the fast music. It was like when the slow jams came on. It's like, and you was looking for like the finest girl in the party, the one that you had the crush on. Now, there were many times I would be clean as the Board of Health. As my grandfather said, sharp as a tack, or some folks call it casket sharp. clean, laid hair, everything. Cologne, slow jam come on. I walk up to a young lady. You want to dance? She may say no. May walk up to another one. She may say no. I'm like, okay. I'll eventually find one that would say yes. So the lesson in that is that we all will be rejected. All right. I don't care. I don't care how handsome you are or think you are. You can be like the jock of the school. You can be the best dressed, the best whatever. It doesn't matter. Everybody is not gonna find you attractive. Everybody is not gonna connect with you, and you just never know what that person may be going through. So, just because you may be rejected in the moment, that's not a rejection of you. Don't take it as a rejection of you. It just meant that this is not a good fit. So you know what? I move on and just keep it moving. Because if you keep searching, you will find that right fit. You will find that one young lady that will say, yeah, I want to dance.
Yeah.
So, because I think that's something I don't know if collectively the culture, we teach young men how, and that's where the emotional intelligence comes in, and how to deal with rejection. Everybody's not going to find you attractive. And then sometimes if you put like your status or your money out for, if you lead with that, and then you attract women who are attracted to the money or the status or the car or the power, and then if somebody else comes by with more money, status, or power, and then she moves on, and then you feel rejected, but dude, you didn't lead with your true self. You led with some bullshit, something that's artificial, and you attracted somebody that was attracted to something that was artificial, that was not, based on real chemistry and just an organic attraction. Somebody that's superficial. So if you lead with superficialness and you attract somebody that's superficial, and then somebody else comes along that's more superficial than you are, and she's attracted to that, you can't get mad and call her a B or H. No, you so that's where the emotional intelligence is key. And those are conversations that I know we need to have more. And we've had those conversations with those young men, but I just wanted to give those two examples, Butch, on how we can, those are lessons that we can teach in terms of self-love and learning to deal with rejection and not just on a personal level, rejection in life. You're not going to get every job application you fill out, every job interview. You're not going to get the job. Michael Jordan, you can some would argue the greatest basketball player. Kareem will get my vote, but the point is, they lost games. Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time, he lost fights. So you're going to lose sometimes, but a loss is a lesson. The only time a loss is when you quit and you give up and you don't learn from that experience. Wow. You win or you learn.
Yeah. Wow. Deep. That was deep, man. So I thought back to James Brown when you started talking about Jesse. I thought about the James Brown "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." I remember we came out with that day. That became the whole movement as well. But what you were just saying about leading with money and leading with stuff, that's what the Red Hat's about, right? Mm-hmm. That's what that was all about. They don't pill, these women. The red pill, they know, right? They know what these women want, right? So that's what they're going to give them what they want. That's why they can devalue them like they did, right? Because they know that there's other women. Butch,
this is important for young men. That's not all women.
Yeah, that's not all women.
That's not all, and that's not even most women.
Right.
But if you lead with that, that's what you're going to attract, to the point you were making.
That's exactly what you're going to attract, right? And they don't mind because they know what it is, and that's what they're using them for, right? So they're good with that. So, but it's all about that class, right? So they're going to get the best looking girl that they can get because they know that they have the money for that best looking girl that they can get, and they can treat her any way they want to treat her because they know why she's there.
Yes.
Right. So for the women, you got to take better care. You got to understand your self-worth just as well. I mean, that money isn't everything, so I mean, you got to understand your self-worth. But yeah, that's a whole nother topic, right? When it comes to our boys and how we how we get them to understand, rejection, and how we get to understand the validation, right? That's why our boys validate each other, right? Which is pretty cool to witness, to be a part of, to see these kids. But I'll never forget one of the boys to men conferences that we did. We actually, started shouting out to each other that we loved each other, and we shouted it out when there was dead space in there. And our kids was like, "Well, what is going on? Why is everybody shouting out that they love each other?" Because in our community, we never say that to each other, right? We never say that to each other. And our kids need to hear that. If they're not hearing it at home, they need to hear it from somebody else, because the gangs are going to tell them that. And no, nobody love you. I love you, right? So, and that's what the abusers say. Your family don't love you. I love you,
Yes.
right? So we want to make sure them kids understand, man, that,
Come on.
that somebody out here that's not their family, that's not their mother, that's not their dad, that has an investment in them, that loves them, man, and that believes that they are somebody. Just like you said, they are somebody, right? And that they can reach a potential. That's why it's important for our kids to see people from different perspectives, right? We want to show them people that are successful in the community, and some people that have fallen and gotten back up from the community, right? We need to show them that it's okay for them. They're gonna fail, right? Michael Jordan was cut from his basketball team before he made the basketball
In
team.
high school, yes.
So yeah, so that I mean, we can get that really straight, right? So I mean, failure is the key to success. Failure is the key to success. When I went to college, man, I tell all the kids, I graduated, I'm an engineer, but my freshman year, I had 3 Fs and 2 Ds and a C.
Wow.
That's not passing. That's not passing. So I went all the way from academic probation to the dean's list. I made 4 O's. I made straight A's. I made 5 A's in my senior year. So I went from academic probation to the dean's list. And it's because, I have to believe in myself. And it took the failure, right, for me to get my act together, because I had never seen failure before in my imagination. Because when I went to high school, I breezed through high school. I graduated early, graduated in the top 5% of my class, the class ahead of my class. So, so I wasn't the one that thought that I would fail. I'll give you a quick story, man. When I was in class, and one of my high school teachers actually gave me a D on a paper, and she's my favorite teacher by far. She just passed away recently, and she gave me a D on one of my papers, and I went to her, and this is how bold I was. I walked up to her and took the paper and put it on her desk. I said, "What is this?" That's what I said to my teacher. I said, "What is this?" She said, and she had her glasses on. She took her glasses down and looked down. It looks like a D to me. I said, "Yeah, I see that it's a D, but what is it doing next to my name?" I said, "I don't get these types of grades." She said, "You bring me D work, I give you D grades. When you bring me A work, I give you A grades." He says, "You need to dig deeper, young man.
Mm.
And if you never dig deeper, young man, you will always be a D work. You will always be a D student in my class. You can be an A student in Miss Rivers' class, but if it's Dana's class, you a D student.
I
You need to
love
work. You
that.
need to dig deeper." I love that woman, because of that woman there telling me to dig deeper, and in my arrogance, right? Because I thought that that I knew what I knew, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I learned, right, that in that class I had to work harder, right, and that's what got me through college, because I knew that I wasn't when I that first semester I knew I wasn't digging deep enough, but I remembered her words: dig deeper, dig deeper, dig deeper. And there got to be people in your life, man, that hold you accountable and tell
Yes.
you that you could do better. You have to dig deeper. I mean, don't quit, just work harder. And I think that the Cosby Show used to say it all the time with Theo, and Theo, Cliff would always give him a hard time about him failing and everything. He's failing because you're not trying, right? And and that's essentially it, man. Our kids don't feel like it's that like they need to really do well in school, because then they get chastised for being quote unquote a nerd, or whatever, what have you. But that's the blessing to some of these kids nowadays, that have two parent homes, and that are growing up now, that actually have that father figure in their home to say, "Hey, son, it's okay for you to do this. Hey, son, it's okay for you to do that." And those who don't, it's okay for them to come out to the conference, because we're gonna tell them it's okay for them to do this. It's okay for you to work hard. It's okay for you to get A grades, man. That's what we want to do. Matter of fact, we want to reward you for those A's. We're gonna take you here. We're gonna take you out. Come on. Let's go to the park. Come on. Let's go shoot some ball. Let's go do something. Let's go hang out. Let's do something. And we just want to celebrate you. And to see kids celebrate each other, man, to me that's just phenomenal. And that doesn't happen very much in the Black community. We don't celebrate each other for anything. But what we need to do is we need to work harder to celebrate our Black women. our black women. I said this a long time ago, and a lot of people don't really understand where I'm coming from when I say it. But I say it as black men, you know, the best that we're willing to do for our women, especially our black women, is call them our queens. This is my queen. This is my queen. She's my queen. But regardless of how you say that, she's my queen. If I'm the king, she's still beneath me, right? And that's the culture that we are into, right? I'm the king. You're the queen. At the end of the day, I'm still the king, and you're the queen. So at the end of the day, I'm still in charge.
Well,
So
you know, it's funny though, to that point though,
mm-hmm.
and a great way to counteract that is chess.
Yeah, that's the only way to counteract
The most powerful piece on the chessboard is not the king.
Yeah,
it's the queen.
Right. Right. That's the only way to counteract. That's the only way in life to counteract it. If we playing chess, then that counteracts it. But in life, when we look at life lessons, man, and we think about it, you know, it's that's why I always call Lisa my ace. You know what I mean? We're each other ace. We're on each other's playing ground. I'm not her king. I'm not in charge of her. You know what I mean? She is a queen, right? And she's just amazing, but she's my ace, right? We're gonna walk this life side by side. We're gonna do this thing together. We're gonna go through this thing together called life. And a lot of people view that a different way. But if you look at it from a chess standpoint, then the queen is the most powerful piece on the planet. But I always tell everybody, man, I had this conversation, man, many years ago that in this world, James Brown had a song saying it's a man's world. Many years ago, it's a man's world, right? And all the women hear the second part, but nothing without a good woman, right? But it's a man's world, right? That was the title of the song. That means that the men actually ran the world. Beyonce came out years later and said, "Who run the world? Girls. Who runs the world? Girls." So there's always going to be that thing in life where we're not really going to be together, right? As far as you know, who is leading in the relationship instead of us both leading, because there's got to be one person that actually really leads, right? And usually it is the male who usually leads. That's why they have the king and the queen. Usually it is the male that really leads. But in today's society, we have women now that are better educated, right? That have gone through college, that make more money than the men in the relationships, but still are subservient. And that's only because it's a cultural thing.
And yeah, let's talk about that. I'm glad you went there. I'm glad you went there, Butch. Let's talk about this whole leadership thing. Now, look, I'm not going to argue with anybody. I'm not going to argue with you and your Bible, because most of you all is watching this show, or enough are watching, are going to argue, try to have this argument with me from this remix racist book that was written by people whose goal was to dominate and to oppress and to accumulate wealth for themselves. So that's a whole nother conversation. So I won't go down that rabbit hole. And that's all religions, not just Christianity. You know, even though you got this Christian nationalist movement, but Islam has the same problem. Judaism has the same problem. You've got this MAGA strain of Judaism over in Israel. Look at Bibi Netanyahu. You've got very oppressive versions of Islam, Hinduism. I could go on and on and on. So my point about when I talk about leadership, is one thing having, and I said this last night, having a penis between your legs does not make you a leader. See, that's that European too many people think, oh, because I've got a penis, a functional penis, it makes me a leader. No, it don't make you. It doesn't make you can't even. And in most cases, people that think like that, the penis leads them. They can't even lead the penis. If we're gonna just be real about it, so leadership, leadership requires multiple levels of intelligence. People focus on the academic intelligence, the intelligence you acquire from reading and doing and study and research, but it requires emotional intelligence. It requires common sense. It requires compassion, empathy, humanity. It requires listening, and real leaders Real leaders, okay, but you in the military, you can speak to this better than I do. True leaders in the military, if there's a situation to where the leaders have to make sure that they are safe, or the men and women that they lead are safe, leaders always put the safety of the people that they are leading before their own safety. Am I right or wrong?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that's what we should be doing in relationships, right? Putting the safety of our wife in front of us and be a protector of our wife, our girlfriend, or whatever it is. That's our responsibility.
And instead of stop letting these outside forces and a lot of this red pill bullshit, or just allowing forces to kind of pit us against each other and talk about who's leading. How about focus on being the best version of yourself and be great at what you're good at. Be great at what you're good at.
Right.
Know what you're great and good at, and know what your weaknesses are. Know what you are not strong at. And hopefully you can attract somebody in your life whose greatness, who's good, and whose greatness is in areas that you're not so good at.
Yeah. So, and that a lot of men are intimidated by that when it comes to women.
So, but let's talk about why is that? Let's talk about that. But why? Let's talk about why, and let's kind of throw that bullshit out. Why would you be intimidated?
I personally am not. Right. Matter of fact, I eat it up. I love it. Right?
No, I know, but you talked to me when you had the conversation. Why?
Yes.
What's intimidating? Because they feel a woman may be more educated.
Well, they feel that the woman is taking the man's spot. That's what they feel. They feel that the women is taking the man, and I hate to say that, but that is exactly what the red pill is, right? So we as men, right, have some sort of swallowing of that pill, a little bit of swallowing of that pill, right? But we didn't take the whole pill. There's a way that you could take a piece of the pill, but not the whole pill, and we're not there.
Okay, fine. Let's stop right here on the point you just talked about. Because let's address this. I'm so glad we're having this conversation on camera. Because Butch and I, we have these conversations off camera, so that's
all
why
the time.
I wanted him to have this conversation. So and I'm not dismissing any brother's feelings out there. If you feel a woman is replacing you, ask yourself why and how. Because if we just reduce it to its least common denominator, well, I remember when I was a kid and I learned fractions. They said the way you do your fractions, you break it down, you break the number and the fraction down to its least common denominator. What does that mean? What does that look like, Geno? For a woman to replace you. Now, I get it, because I know there's some smart asses say, well, we don't need no man, we can go to a sperm bank. But okay, all right, fine. I'm the right person to go down that rabbit hole. Well, yeah, guess what? You can go to a sperm bank. But if you go into a sperm bank, you are going to a sperm bank to get what? To get sperm. And how do you get sperm? You get it from a man. So on the flip side, men, we provide the sperm, but we don't provide the egg. So the point that I'm trying to make is that from a standpoint of we humans as a species, we need each other just to continue as a species. And we can do that without trying to compete with each other. Do what you do best, and let somebody do what they do best, and stop letting outside forces tell you that well, I don't, because if you are with, and this applies to women and men, if you are in a relationship and the person that you are with makes you feel like that your voice is not heard, because I know a lot of women say that, but a lot of significant number feel I don't feel heard. I don't feel validated. You were talking about the validation early. If you are in any kind of relationship like that, you need to look in the mirror and say, then why am I in a relationship that doesn't feed me, that doesn't feed my soul and my spirit? I don't need to compete with somebody. If your woman's got degrees, or she has more formal education, if that's what you want to do, if you feel a sense to compete because you want to have more, you could take your ass back to school. But why would you do it just for that? Because there are probably some areas that you are strong in that she is not. So it shouldn't be it's not about competition. It's a collaboration.
Yeah.
You and Lisa, you all have a great collaboration. Like you said, you are a team.
Well,
you are
yeah,
co-leaders.
We work at that, right? So we definitely work at that, right? And we do it intentionally, right? So I hate to say it, but I want to say this. I want to be honest, right? I want to say this. America, the culture of America, is male centered, right? I mean, if it wasn't,
well, that's the word.
Yeah,
that's global, to
right.
be honest. Yeah, patriarchy is global, and it has been for centuries.
But it's something different in America, right? Because in my opinion, Kamala was more qualified to be president, right? So I don't think America's ready for a female president, because in my opinion, I voted for her, and I'll always vote for the better candidate, right? And they're never ready for a woman to be president, but I think that she has everything it took to be a great leader, right? She had everything. She's much better than the one we have now. So I don't even think there's a question.
That's not even a conversation.
So why isn't America ready for that? Is the bigger question, right? So it's not just something that we're thinking of. It's a culture thing, right?
Yes.
I don't think culturally America is ready for that yet, because in my opinion, I don't think you're going to get any better than or get anyone any better than her. And she's talking about running again, and I'm just hoping that that we, especially the black men that wouldn't vote for her, right, that get up off their high horses and realize that she is the better candidate. And I always ask the question now: are you satisfied with the candidate that you have? Are we satisfied with him?
In all fairness to black men,
right,
black men only made up about 20% of that.
Right.
We want to talk about white men because we know the majority of white, 60, 70% of them, 70%, maybe 80 in some cases, and his Hispanic men was about 60%. That's a whole nother conversation. But I know we've expanded this conversation. So I guess to close it and to bring it back to where we started off, Butch, is back to Malcolm X's quote from 6 decades ago, back in 1964, May of 64. The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. And if that's true, Butch, what does that say about us as black men? And are we good with that? Are we okay when we know this? You just spoke of Kamala Harris. So we know this.
Right. We know this. Right. So like I was saying, I intentionally did what I did with Lisa. I put her in positions, right, to where everybody would come to me. And I said, no. Yes. This is where you go.
Shout out to you. You know what? Can I just say, I'm jumping in because I've watched you do that for years. And because I never looked at it that way, because I know how you and I are wired. So it's like, listen, she is brilliant at this.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of the way. I'm not about to fuck this up. Yeah, let me move.
I'm sending you straight to the leader, straight to the champ.
I have watched you do that, but it makes sense because in a professional setting, I've seen it, and now it all makes sense now. Yes.
Yeah.
You have done that, and that was brilliant of you. But the way you did it, it was so inconspicuous. It just looked natural. But you're like, you need to talk.
Well, my thing is I respect her. I love her, but I respect her. Yes. There's a big difference, right, between love and respect, right? Yeah. I respect her. My goal is to make sure that other people respect her as well. Other men respect her as well.
That part.
And they understand who she is, right? And the power that comes with that, right? So I'm willing in the military, our motto in the military, I was in the Air Force, was lead, follow, or get out of the way. Right. So I'm willing to lead. I'm willing to lead, and I'm willing to follow her. Right. And if neither one of us are leading, and if nothing's going the right way, we just gonna get on out the way and let it go the way it's gonna go. But yeah, she's an amazing person, and amazing women, and Black women in general are beautiful and amazing. And we just gotta make sure they understand, their self worth and their self value. Every year we do the Dream Girls Conference. Thousands of girls come out, right? And we make sure that they understand who they are. They value themselves. It's really important that we do the same thing to boys. It's really important. So
I'm closing again with violence against women. Domestic sexual violence is not a woman's problem. It's a man's problem. It's one of the first things I said to Butch when I met him. And men, we have to change our culture, especially as Black men. It's a problem for white men, Hispanic men, probably a bigger problem. That's a whole nother conversation, but you have to clean up your own house before you can go to your neighbor's house and clean it up. I believe that.
right.
I live by that. So we can be the natural leaders that we are, Black men. If we want to, so for all of us Black men who are all these leaders that we feel that we are leaders, I'm the leader. Well, okay, lead by action. Don't tell, because a true leader never uses the word leader. Michael Jordan never, I've never heard even a teammate. Now I know he punched Steve Kerr and Will Purdue, and I know he tried to get tough with Bill Cartwright and Robert Parrish, and they told him that they would beat his ass. And Robert Parrish said he'd never play basketball again if he kept talking crazy. But the point I'm trying to make is that Michael Jordan never had to say, "I'm the leader." He led by example. He led by how he practiced, how he took care of himself. So if you are a leader, then lead.
Yeah.
Because if you just leading with your lip, that ain't leading. That's just running off at the mouth. That is not leadership.
Exactly.
So if you are a leader, your actions and behavior should reflect that. And if we are definitely leaders, we should not be comfortable with something that Brother Malcolm saw 6 decades ago, still being true today in terms of Black women being the most disrespected and unprotected and neglected. That's an indictment on us collectively as Black men, Butch.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But the mentality of young Black men nowadays is totally different than the mentality of the Black men that grew up with us, right? We had some sort of pride, some sort of respect for our elders and other things that our younger generation doesn't possess those same qualities.
But that's on us as the older generation. We got to change that. And listen, everybody. I know I'm hyping him up. I'm not hyping him up. I'm just speaking fact. That's why I've been working with this brother for 20 years. Yeah. But the things that he's doing, you don't have to have a nonprofit to do it. You don't have to have a degree in sociology, or psychiatry, or whatever it is. You don't have to be clinically trained. You can just be a person that leans into humanity and see everybody's humanity.
Right.
And like you said, allow men to experience and express their full selves. That means their full range of emotions, which means there are things that can happen in your life that can bring you to your knees, that can bring you to tears, that can create an incredible sense of anxiety and fear and depression. And that means, it didn't mean that something is wrong with you. It means you are human. Now, what you do with that is where we are as our brother's keeper. That's when we like, hey man, how you really doing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Come on, sit. Get this shit off your chest. Let's talk about it. I ain't judging you. I'm not gonna run back on social media and clown you because I love you. So I want to help you heal so you don't harm yourself or no one else.
Yeah.
That's the conversation. Butch, I want to give you the last word, then I'm going to give out the National Domestic Violence Hotline number. But I want to give you the last word, and then also I know you do great work if there's any women or families in danger. And if there's some men who are feeling like they're on the edge, I'm sure Butch has some information or places where you can go and get some help also, so you don't wind up finding yourself in a situation to where uh, lives, generations of lives have been destroyed. So, giving you the last word, Butch.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. As black men, just need to do better, right? And we need to hold each other accountable. That's what we do. That's our main focus. That's our main goal. We're reaching out to all black men. We're gonna do 100 black men in South Carolina as well. I'm working with a gentleman in Columbia to start that as well. But I just think that it's important, right, that we open up a space for black men to have these types of conversations, man, and sit back and just love on one another. You know what I mean? I mean, none of us are perfect, right? And we all go through stuff, but if we don't ever talk about that stuff that we go through, it's just going to build up inside of us. And then it's sort of like that pot on the kettle, right? That everybody's going to have trauma in their lives, right? We just got to figure out, that or let each other know that it's okay, right? That we're going to be there for you. And that's what we do at the Boys to Men conference. I want to invite everybody to come on out. It's going to be at Mount Moriah this year. It's going to be November the 14th. So we want y'all to come on out to our Boys to Men conference. We're excited about it, and we want your sons to come out. Don't want you to think it's robbery. To give us some time with your sons so we can have these conversations with your sons as well, and figure out where they're at. Make sure that they understand that there's people out here that want to support them, that want to see them do well. Man, we're excited this year. We've had a couple of our kids graduate. They're actually in the military now. So it's amazing to see these kids that we've known for like 6 or 7 years that were little youngsters now. They're young grown men now. They've graduated from high school and they're living their best life. So it's amazing, man. The resiliency of our young kids, the resiliency of black people in general. We've gone through bad times before, right? Especially in this country and black people in this country. We'll go through bad times again. But the resiliency of our people, man, will make us will allow us to overcome. So that's what I got to say. And
We're going through bad times right now.
Oh yeah, you definitely believe it, man. I mean, we got somebody that doesn't really care about us that's running this country, man, and I don't think he really cares about a lot of things, right? So we're gonna hang tough, right? We've only got 2 more years, a little over 2 more years of this, and he can't run again. So I mean, we'll be all right. We'll get through this. We'll get through this.
Like I said, we're all we got, but we are all we need, and we got everything we need. Anybody, for any woman out there that feels who's in danger, or family of women with children, if you need help here in the state of South Carolina, Butch, you've got some contact information here locally, and I'll give the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And I'll know, like I said, if there's some men who feel that they need to talk, if there's some resources or a number that you want to recommend to some of those men who find themselves in crisis, but I want to center the women and the children who may be in danger, because you made an excellent point. And reiterating that again, I want you to say that again. That I think you said the most dangerous person in a woman's life is that man that's her romantic partner, which is shocking and embarrassing. But there's data. That's a fact. There's data to back that up.
That's true, but there's also 80% of men that would never abuse their significant other.
Yes.
So that part too, we don't ever talk about that part. We talk about the 20% that abuse. So there's 80% of men that believe exactly like we believe. The problem is that we're silent for the 20% of people that do what they do.
And that 20% can do irreparable harm, as we witnessed what happened with Dr. Karina Fairfax and Justin Fairfax and the person in Louisiana in Shreveport. They killed 8 children and tried to kill two different mothers.
Wow.
But here locally, like you said, if there's any woman or women with children finds themselves in crisis and needs some help, I know you've got some contact information.
Yeah, I'm easy to be found on Facebook or Instagram. You can check out the PalmettoHopeNetwork.org. and you can find us there as well. We have our own safe house here in the Georgetown County area, and we have an office in Hanahan. So if you just reach out to me at Butch Kennedy on Facebook or Butch Kennedy on Instagram, you can get at me. But you or just visit our website,
Palmetto Hope Network.
.org. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
.org.
what would you say to any man that may find themselves in a mental emotional crisis that have listened to this conversation and just looking for some guidance? What would you say?
Yeah. Well, if you need someone to talk to, that's what we're here for. I mean, you can get at me. I mean, yeah, find me through Facebook or find me through Instagram, and I'll sit down and we'll have some conversations with you. We have a team of people who work with people with mental health issues as well, and that's what we do, man. Our main goal is to make sure we're all good, right? So just reach out to us and.
So could those men in crisis reach out to you through the Palmetto Hope Network, or reach out to you through Butch Kennedy on Instagram?
Either
Facebook?
way.
Okay.
Either way, if you reach out to me on our website at palmettohopenetwork.org, I'll get that as well. Or if you reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook, I'm Butch Kennedy. Just reach out to me, send me a message, and I'm good. I'll definitely get in touch with you.
Thank you, Butch. And the National Domestic Violence Hotline number is 800-799-7233. That's 800-799-7233. 800-799-7233. That's 800-799, the word safe. But that's why I give you the number once again, 800-799-7233. 800-799-7233, or you can text the word START, START, text START to 88788. Text the word START to 88788. That's 88788. Text the word START, or once again, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That hotline is available and open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 800-799-7233. Butch Kennedy, Palmetto Hope Network. Thank you, my brother. Man, this was a great conversation. I appreciate you. A shout out to your queen, Lisa, who is, she is a force of nature. Everybody,
She is it. She is it, man. She's definitely it. She's definitely a great leader. She's always doing something great in the community. I'm so proud to call her my wife. So I'm happy.
Well, look, I'm honored to still be doing this work with you, brother, 2 decades later. So I'm 10 toes down for, because hopefully one day we won't have to have this conversation. But until we get there, we're going to keep doing this work individually, and we definitely going to continue to do this work together to end violence against women, and hopefully end violence against each other, period, full stop. Thank you, brother.
Peace.
Butch Kennedy, ladies and gentlemen, just a brilliant brother. He's modest. Him and Lisa both are making an incredible team. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you, and especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show live Monday through Friday. A programming note, it's playoff season. The Stingrays have a hockey game. They got 2 home games this weekend, Friday and Saturday. No live show this Friday. However, I'll be back live Wednesday and Thursday. So if you're watching me live now, Tuesday night. So Wednesday live, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursday night live, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. No live show this Friday. Like I said, Stingrays hockey, playoff hockey. All right, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe, please. And please leave your comments below. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of comments. I'd love to hear what you had to say. So go leave your comments in the comments section below right now. And thanks to everybody that left their comments in the live chat room. When we're on camera, the show is interactive. If you got a question or a comment, you can jump in that chat room and give us your question or your comment, or you can, and you can also leave your comments. Please leave your comments in the comments section that's below. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to see what you have to say, and so does YouTube. But more important, I want to know what you have to say. What's on your mind? Agree, disagree, like, don't like, whatever, it's all good. voice your choice. Say what you mean what you say. Get it off your chest. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Shout out to Allie Jones, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show. You can check her and her Lexi Jones collection out on Instagram on IGLX.NCL_LX.NCL_. My man, Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. Got a birthday coming up this weekend. Kale, happy birthday, that player. Check him out. He's the CEO of Designer Cuts. Check him and Designer Cuts. He's the Master Barber's Master Barber out on Instagram. Kel be cutting up, KELBECUTTINUP. I would love to have you as a sponsor or advertising here on the Geno Jones Show, part of the Geno Jones Show family. So you can reach out to me. You got a question, you'd like to be a sponsor? All you got to do is shoot me an email. Use my Gmail. Geno Jones Show. That's my email address, all one word. Geno Jones Show at Gmail. Geno Jones Show at Gmail. Now, you can support the show and my media company financially through either Zelle or Cash App. Now, if you want to Zelle your financial support, no amount is too small or too large. You can Zelle your financial support to this show and my media company. Use that same email address, Geno Jones Show, all one word, at gmail.com. Geno Jones Show, all one word, at gmail.com. Or you can Cash App $Dad G Jones, all one word, $Dad G Jones. That's $, capital D, lowercase a d, capital G J, lowercase O-N-E-S. We'll see you live Wednesday, Working Divas Wednesday, 7:30 p.m., 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Chicago Stand Up, live in Los Angeles and Las Vegas on the West Coast in Portland, Oregon, 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon on Wednesday. Love you, love. Love is a verb. Love is an action word. Show you love. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.